mines are good for anyways in a Terran versus Terran. I mean, they are good as well for taking out units, but I mean, they usually don't go off. Like I was saying earlier, you can't just attack move through a minefield with a Terran ball and you're just going to completely roll over it and not take much damage at all. The lines are being drawn here, guys, and it looks like Fantasy looking to draw his lines deeper into Leta's field here, deeper into Leta's territory, and is pushing up here with a lot of tanks, sieging those tanks up. Leta's tank, actually, they're not getting off that one shot, which would have been critical. It probably would have hit 4 tanks there with that splash damage, and it looks like Leta, yeah, conceding that position there. However, off to the right side of the map, the players have not drawn their lines yet, and that's exactly what Fantasy is looking to do here. Leta needs to siege up those tanks, though. Leta definitely needs to siege up those tanks. Fantasy only having a couple of tanks off to the left side of the map there, using the majority of his forces to try to draw that line off to the right side of the map, which no player has at this point, and that's what it's going to come down to. Like I said at the beginning of this matchup here, it is a 3-player map, so it is going to come down to that main off to the side here. Leta sieging up first, going to get it off that first volley, taking out that front tank, and getting some scans off there just to give himself vision. However, Leta, or Fantasy, doing a really nice job there of taking the damage from those tanks onto his Vulture, keeping that pack of about 5 tanks there well and alive. And it looks like now Leta just taking his 3rd base here, so Fantasy actually economically probably ahead at this point. Having taken that economic loss at the beginning to that 14th command center build coming from Leta, he is now getting himself back into this game, and really nice play there coming from Fantasy, dropping onto that high ground. You don't see that enough these days where in Terran versus Terran or Terran versus anything really, where they drop onto the high ground. That mischance is just so critical, and those 2 tanks are going to probably be worth something like 5 tanks, actually, in my opinion. Don't know what the math is there, but that's what I feel it's going to be like. And now Vultures are going to come in here and start raiding out this 5 o'clock position. No, he's going to go down straight to the 6 o'clock position. Going to kill off all of these SCVs, I feel. Not multitasking here, though, not focus firing down those SCVs. And it looks like a Fantasy not doing a very good job of getting his forces there to defend this. Having to pull those SCVs, going to send those to the 5 o'clock position. That's also going to clue Fantasy or Leta off to the fact that 5 o'clock position is actually up and running. Now doing even more raiding with these Vultures. These Vultures are extremely cost-effective. Really nice SCV drills there from Fantasy. And those raids also in the backfield. They're going to see if maybe he's going to run in, do some scans, and run in and pick off any undefended dropships, which would be probably his best bet as far as effectiveness for those raids go. He is moving them across the field now. Maybe he's looking to take off. No, he's just going to try to help give vision and spot out this position here. Unfortunately, running across 3 Goliaths, losing one of those raids. And now Fantasy pushing in here. However, he's pushing into a setup position already, so he's going to lose those frontal tanks and not do very much damage of his own. He's not picking off any tanks, and those raids are going to just be used to pick away at this barracks, which is good at giving vision for Fantasy here, or for Leta, rather. So that barracks is probably going to go down. If it's not going to go down to Wraithfire, it's probably just going to burn down eventually. So that's going to be some kind of a plus for Leta there, or sorry, for Fantasy. However, it's not going to be too big of a deal as well as the fact that he is economically behind now. He does, however, have that 5 o'clock position up. He's not producing any SCVs from there or mining just yet, and he is delaying very well, actually, the expansion, the 4th expansion of Leta from going up at the 1 o'clock position there. So Leta actually going to be a little bit behind if he doesn't get that command center up anytime soon. I think he might have just expected that SCV went over to build that building there, unfortunately being stopped by mines. And I know everybody hates it. Everybody hates being stopped, sending over a unit to go build something and it just doesn't do it, and you go back to check on it and it's just not even started building, especially something like a command center, which just takes so long to build, and it's so crucial in this kind of a matchup. So Leta definitely going to be behind a little bit in this one. Now opting to just set up a turret there. Probably just wanted to set that up so he wouldn't have to waste any scans and getting vision on those mines there. So Leta, the longer and longer he allows this 5th base advantage to go up for Fantasy, he's going to just be setting himself farther and farther behind here. So now the turret wall is also going up alongside those tank walls, and this is again what it's going to come down here. You can see the lines. Fantasy does have a little bit more than he needs of the map, which is going to set him up really nicely for the late game. Unfortunately, though, he is spreading himself a little bit thin. We're going to see if Leta opts to push in at one of these locations here. He definitely has that ability to do that and just redraw his lines here. And, oh, those tanks are heavily damaged there. A lot of them in the red. That front tank is in the red, and I think that second front tank is in the red as well. So those tanks are actually going to go down really quickly. Yeah, there's one of those tanks going down, and yeah, the observer just showing us that all of these tanks are damaged. And again, Fantasy having that high ground is extremely effective. Like I said, when you're on the high ground, you have absolutely 0% of a miss chance unless you're shooting something behind a tree or something like that. As well as you're going to take a lot of tanks are going to misfire on you, as well as other ranged units, but mainly the tanks and TVT is what you're looking to get off here. A lot of vultures in the field here for Leta as well. However, they're going to run into these established tank lines, as well as vultures coming in here, and Fantasy just looking to wrap himself around the position of Leta here, looking to take out this win. However, a huge dropship fleet, 5 dropships, full of units flying out here, going to try to take out these lines, take out these positions, and definitely going to be able to take out these 3 tanks here. Probably going to load up, yeah, just siege a couple of tanks and load up the rest of those forces and just redrop all over the place. Now Leta looking to take the position, and this is what, like I said, just look on that minimap. As soon as you see one of the players completely wrap around and with tanks and turrets and Goliaths and mines and everything, take that position in a clear and dominating fashion over that, over that base on that right side there, then you'll know that that player is in the lead. I also do want to point out something here, that this map might be a little bit imbalanced for the player in the 12 o'clock position. With these spawning locations, the starting spawning locations for these 2 players specifically in Terran versus Terran, it's in the favor of actually the 12 o'clock player, just because of the fact that if you look at that 9 o'clock base for Fantasy, he actually can't take that gas, because the tanks, if you position tanks in such a way, you can actually shell from that expansion that Leta has over there on the left side of the map. You can shell the gas of that 9 o'clock base there for the player who spawns in the bottom left. So that's really an unfortunate thing that Fantasy's going to have to find a way to cope with there. Yeah, as you can see here, tanks actually, the observer just showing it there, coincidentally, showing the fact that that gas cannot go up, and now dropping, defending with those dropships against these vultures here that somehow snuck around for Fantasy. Did a little bit of economic harass there, not much, nothing to write home about. And Leta actually having a lot of SCVs in the main base idling, just idling away here, you know, chilling after work at the bar, not doing any mining whatsoever. And let me just get a base count here. Unfortunately, the quality of this video, like I said in my last video, I really do want to up the quality of these videos here. And, oh, I didn't actually realize this. I think this might be an updated version of the map, because I think in one of the newer versions of the map, you couldn't shell. I think the gas was in a higher position, and you couldn't shell it. So I take everything back I said about the 12 o'clock player having the advantage in this position, because you actually can shell from both positions. So unfortunate for both of these players that they're either going to have to sit there and constantly repair that Vespian Geyser, use APM to repair that Vespian Geyser, or just take the loss. And now dropships are the name of the game in Terran versus Terran, being shown off here from Leta, doing a really nice drop there on that 3 o'clock position, completely wiping out the established position that was had there by Fantasy, and now Fantasy doing a drop of his own. It looks to me, though, that Leta has a lot more units in those dropships, and I think one extra dropship than above what what Fantasy has here. I don't know why I confuse these guys so much, these the names of these players here. So it definitely does seem to me that Leta does have one dropship up on Fantasy, as well as more units in the dropships. However, I was looking to get a base count here. 2, 4, 5 against 2, 4, 6, so 6 bases for Fantasy. So Fantasy definitely looking to fight his way back for his team here, looking to put SKT1 in a position where they have at least 1 game win. However, a massive drop here coming across the middle of the field. I don't think Fantasy is prepared for this one. He didn't have any turrets up there. He had 1 turret, rather. No Goliaths over there. He had some mines, though, but those mines definitely went down before they did any damage whatsoever, and now these tanks are going to be able to siege away at this position here. And I think as soon as these turrets go down, yeah, Fantasy is looking to defend this drop. just completely ahead of time, putting up some tanks, getting ready for this drop here, and Leta ranges those turrets and is out of range of the tanks for Fantasy here. However, what this is doing is actually denying a reinforcement route to that 9 o'clock position, though, so Leta is going to be able to completely take down this 9 o'clock position, and he's going to be able to take it for himself after he gets himself established there. There aren't many units there in that base, so Leta is going to be able to drop all over it. There are tanks, but they are clumped up, like you guys remember seeing that when they were shelling that gas from that 9 o'clock position against, I guess, the 10 o'clock position there. They were all clumped up, so Leta's going to be able to drop all over that. And, yeah, Leta is now mining off of, again, that is just his 5th base there. So Fantasy's going to probably have to do some kind of counter damage here. However, that whole right side of the map is just turrets and tanks for Leta. So, like I was saying earlier, Fida, I almost called him Fida. Jesus.